Right now on the National Weather Desk, severe storms strike again.
Tons of power flashes.
As possible tornadoes and powerful winds cause even more damage, millions of people face the risk of even stronger storms today.
Just a loud gust of wind and a crack.
Not so peachy. That's what fruit farmers are saying in the Great Lakes.
Farmers lost their peach crops due to the bitter January cold.
Agonizing allergies. Could the suffocating season be getting longer?
Allergy season arrived early this year.
How MLB is now using weather data to determine how balls will behave inside ballparks.
We basically have the model of what we think the wind is going to do.
And how to make sure your ceiling fan is giving you optimal output.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Severe storms once again pounded the nation's midsection on Monday with tornadoes, hail, and also strong winds. And there's a high risk of even more damaging weather today. 67 million Americans are under threat of severe weather from Texas to Michigan and into New England. The greatest risk of 4 out of 5 in Iowa and portions of Wisconsin, Illinois, and Missouri. We'll have more on that threat in just a moment. But first, at least one tornado was reported in Grand Isle, Nebraska, and that's where our storm chaser, Brett Adair, found these supercell thunderstorms along Interstate 80. After sunset, other storms pushed into the region, bringing heavy rain, rotating winds, and also some power flashes. Strong winds, also strong storms also swept through Missouri early Monday morning. Now this is Springfield, where the winds brought down trees and also power lines and also damaged cars. Some homes and buildings were also damaged. There is cleanup underway in Kansas City region right now. Martin Augustine has more on the aftermath.
The wood chippers helping speed up a long cleanup from a storm that lasted maybe 15 seconds, says Kyle Kofer.
Just a loud gust of wind and a crack.
His worst fears coming true when an enormous cottonwood tree in his backyard smashed his home of 21 years in two. He was in the bedroom, his wife the kitchen, his two boys in bed, all unhurt, all scared.
I get mad made peace. I thought I was dying. I thought I was dead. I'd have nightmares about that tree falling before. And it just, that gust of wind just came out of nowhere.
The chainsaws roaring to life last night almost as soon as the storm moved on. But it wasn't until the sun came up that homeowners such as Heather Solzin truly appreciated the storm's wrath. Her home battered, her husband removing tree limbs thrown down with enough power to puncture the roof in several spots.
We've got a week left of work because we're teachers, so summer project is going to be working on the house.
While progress cleaning up is certainly a good sign, this is still a cleanup that's going to last a long time before everything's back to normal.
We mentioned the threat for severe weather continues today. Meteorologist Matthew Hidalgo is following that system for us.
Another round of severe weather is likely across portions of Iowa, northern Missouri, southwest Wisconsin, and northwestern Illinois this afternoon and evening, where we are going to be seeing that moderate risk. Strong tornadoes, large hail, and even strong winds will likely be possible later today, folks. So let's take a walk through your computer model here. And as we enter the afternoon and evening hours, where we'll see storms likely develop along and ahead of a front in portions of Iowa and northern Missouri, but that'll continue to push east as we head into the evening hours and make its way into Wisconsin and even Illinois.
Well, cleanup is underway in Oklahoma after at least 5 tornadoes touched down Sunday night. 2 Oklahoma City suburbs were hit, along with farmland in the western part of the state. Damage assessments are going on right now. Katie Arata has more.
I mean, it was just like everything just went crazy. The wind started blowing, things started blowing around the world out here, and it was just really, really scary. I have never been through that before.
I got home right after it hit, came into town, and it was a mess.
That's how Hydro residents described the powerful storm that swept through the area Sunday night. Jan says she took cover in her basement, and when she came out to see the damage, she was shocked.
I was amazed, especially to see the trailer turned over there.
The Hydro community sprang into action, cleaning up debris once the storm passed.
As they were popping out of the cellar, Shaw was coming through with the loader because we had to make sure that the road was cleared so that our ambulances could come in and our PSO, our electric companies could come and, find the damaged wires.
Today, some residents came out to feed the crews cleaning up.
We just see a need and we try to meet it because, that's what small towns are about. We're about helping each other. I mean, I love hydro, and I am so blessed to be a part of such an awesome community.
Well, some sad news for peach lovers as northern Indiana and southwest Michigan farmers lost their peach crops from the bitter January cold. Gabby Luma has more.
With a combination of fragile peach buds and a cold snap earlier this year, we'll have to do without the beloved local peaches this summer. After a cold January, many local farmers' peach crop couldn't survive as peach buds aren't really built to withstand negative temperatures. This is the second year in a row Michiana farmers are suffering a loss as negative temperatures froze the peach buds beyond saving. While it might have seemed like a warmer winter than we're used to, those days it went below zero were noticed by farmers. Owner of Kircher's Sunrise Orchard in Goshen tells me the community isn't too fond of the news.
The people are so sad. They're probably more concerned about the peach crop around here because they love Kircher peaches. We have some really super varieties, and we tree ripen them, so when you take them off the tree and you bite into them, the juice runs down your face.
Does this mean other crops were affected? Maureen tells me no. Fortunately, the farm's signature fruit, apples, are built to withstand the winter. She adds apple buds can withstand negative temperatures, while peaches, on the other hand, aren't as hardy and are lost once the temps drop negative. Maureen says it's something farmers really can't see coming.
It's nothing that we can predict unless we have a really cold temperature in the winter, and then we say, well, we're probably not going to have a peach crop this year. We will have lots of the summer fruits. Strawberries are going to start early this year. That's the big news you want to talk about. People need to know that because of this warm spring and warm winter and everything is super early.
May is Wildfire Awareness Month, and power lines are becoming a bigger cause of wildfires due to drought. With peak wildfire season on the horizon, fire crews and also utility companies are preparing for what could be a tough season. Savannah Welch is in Portland, Oregon with more.
I really make sure that the kind of plants and trees I have, they're not easily something catch fire, and try to keep some of those things a little bit away from the home.
Beju Patel has lived near Forest Park for 10 years, and Forest Park is in one of PGE's public safety power shutoff zones. These are areas where, during dangerous weather conditions, PGE will temporarily shut off power to prevent power lines from sparking a fire. Pacific Power also has PSPS zones, and earlier this month in Seattle, Puget Sound Energy announced it would also be adopting preventative shutoffs. John Farmer with PGE says a PSPS is used as a last resort.
It helps us understand where to make system hardening upgrades like overhead lines to underground conversions.
This year, PGE added another zone in Salem and refined some of its existing zones. And as fire crews prepare for the upcoming season, they say these shutoffs are helping response times.
If we have a chance to reduce tying up our personnel so that we can properly respond to events that are appropriate for our response, that's great. It's nice to know that PGE has gone out of their way to make sure to be ready to shut the power down to reduce fire damage or fire start possibilities during those significant weather events.
It's getting warmer outside, and talk is heating up about diseases that humans can get from bugs like Lyme disease, West Nile virus. But do you know where mosquitoes actually encounter those viruses? Meteorologist Jeanette Colley explains.
Did you know that birds are the primary carriers of the West Nile virus and not mosquitoes? Recently, there was a story about a mosquito pool or a group of mosquitoes on San Antonio's southwest side that tested positive for West Nile virus. While the disease is spread from the bite of a mosquito infected with the virus, mosquitoes become infected when they feed on infected birds. You see, during a drought, whatever water a bird can find to drink or bathe is typically the same water mosquitoes lay their eggs. When a mosquito bites the bird, it becomes a carrier and can then transmit the virus to humans and other animals.
More great weather content, and to get all the latest weather news, be sure to follow us on social media. We post content from our team of meteorologists across the country. Just search the National Weather Desk on your favorite social media platforms or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, find out why spring allergy season seems to be lasting longer and longer. And we'll talk with an expert about how the weather impacts America's pastime.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have heat and humidity building in the Northeast this week. Look at these temperatures surging to the 80s to near 90. It's not quite as hot at the coastline thanks to a stiff southerly wind developing. In fact, we'll start the day with a lot of low clouds and fog near the coast. That's going to burn off. Most of the Northeast sees a lot of sun today. Notice the greatest chance for thunderstorm will be back into northern parts of New England. Some may become strong to severe. We're back in the 80s to near 90 with higher humidity on Wednesday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Tuesday starts out similarly as we will see just some patchy fog in the morning. Not much happening on the radar picture. We're not expecting any rainfall until later into Wednesday. With a front approaching, we'll see a chance for a couple of showers, maybe a thunderstorm, especially overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Before that, we'll stay dry, but a lot warmer. We'll hit the mid-80s on Tuesday, and we'll be in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees on late Wednesday.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here's a look at your afternoon highs for today. Most of us in the mid 80s, upper 80s, for some of us in low 90s even for areas further west, Jackson, Little Rock, and then we do dip into the lower 80s in Asheville. Mostly dry conditions as low pressure has shifted away from the southeast into the Atlantic. We are going to remain mostly dry. We do expect a little bit of a rain disturbance going on North Georgia mountains area, and then a frontal boundary will push across Tennessee overnight heading into Wednesday morning.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Hail the size of tennis balls fell on the Oklahoma City area Sunday night. Other images compare what fell to objects like eggs, ping pong balls, and quarters. And cicadas are emerging in the Quincy, Illinois area. This year, two broods not seen together in more than 200 years continue popping up in parts of the Midwest and Southeast.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday.
Many places around the country are still in the middle of allergy season. Beth Hunt spoke with an expert to find out if the season is getting longer and what you can do to help reduce your allergy symptoms.
So right now is the peak of allergy season. We have the trees and the grasses pollinating.
Making matters worse, allergy season arrived early this year, which means you'll likely have to battle your symptoms longer.
Mid-February is usually when the tree pollen starts. I'm seeing some tree pollen start even earlier in February. And then we're going a little bit later into the fall as well. Usually after we get our first freeze in the fall is the end of allergy season. And that's usually the first week of November, but now it seems like it may be more toward the second week of November.
Dr. Eddie Shields with Arkansas Allergy and Asthma Clinic says there are three main types of pollen that cause seasonal allergies. Earlier in the spring, tree pollen is the main culprit. After that, grasses pollinate, followed by weeds in late summer and early fall. But there are some things you can do to beat the symptoms.
The less exposure you have to the pollen, the better off you are. So the windows shut in the house and in the car. If you're going to be outside in the pollen, like working in the yard, wearing a mask and eye protection is helpful. As soon as you're finished, shower and get the pollen off of you.
Over-the-counter medication is also an option. Dr. Shields says nasal sprays work best.
If you'll start those preventative nasal sprays before the season starts and use them on a regular basis, you'll have a much better spring or much better fall.
But if your symptoms seem unbearable, even with medication, you may want to consider allergy shots. This immunotherapy can effectively turn off the allergic reaction.
That's what we see all the time. It works 80 to 90% of the time.
Dr. Shields calls it a more long-term solution. He says after 3 to 5 years of shots, most people are free of allergy symptoms.
There's a project in place to battle climate change in northern Michigan. Meteorologist Trevor Robideau went to the forest where it's happening and spoke with an expert about the work that is underway right now.
Currently, some of our biggest issues with climate change are
invasive pests and diseases. So we've seen that with emerald ash borer, also beech bark disease, which is currently damaging a lot of our beech trees that we have. And most recently, hemlock woolly adulgid is moving into this Leelanau area.
They have a lot of plans in place, but first and foremost, they must minimize damage done by invasive species.
The most basic thing that we can be doing to increase forest resiliency here is to increase the species diversity. So that's having a bunch of different tree species kind of within this forest, just so when that next wave of either pests or diseases comes through, if it affects one species of trees, there's a great number of other trees that are here, so that minimizes the impact.
But that's not their only approach. Garone says another thing they can do is manage the age class of the trees in the area.
So that's having old mature trees, middle-aged trees, and young trees. An issue that we have currently is with the deer population. They come and browse a lot of the saplings, so we're missing some age classes here.
So this past spring, the Leelanau Conservancy planted 700 trees of varying species.
Most of those species are currently present either within this forest in low numbers or kind of within the surrounding greater area.
They say with change inevitable, Garone is eager to take action as early as possible to deal with any problems thrown at us by climate change.
Climate change is an existential crisis that I think we're all facing in a lot of different ways. When we're planting trees, we're thinking in forest time, so we're thinking in decades and centuries. So we need to be thinking a little bit ahead of kind of our next threats. So this planting is really setting up this forest to thrive for decades and centuries to come.
Cicadas are out in full force in some parts of the U.S., and if you've heard them, you know they can be loud. Meteorologist Bill Race posted about it on Facebook.
So in the common areas where I live here, there's one of the roads that go on through. A lot of traffic through there, but here's the sound of cicadas in these woods now. The last week they have really come out. So let's listen a second. Even when the cars go by, you can hear them easily. So that's what's happening in Rossville, Georgia, near Chattanooga.
Last year, Major League Baseball started using weather-applied metrics to model how winds will behave inside ballparks. Emily Gracie sat down with an MLB scientist to find out how this is changing the game and debunking old home run conspiracy theories.
We basically have the model of what we think the wind is going to do. This is something weather applied metrics generates, and they'll have standard trajectories to left field, to center field, to right field, and they can tell you what the typical deflection of those hits will be days in advance.
So take me through how this data that you're looking at now is helping to solve old mysteries.
Ted Williams in June of 1946, hit a ball that hit a fan in the head who was sitting in that seat. And that's, probably a typical thing, but in this case, it was really far away from home plate. And estimates back at the time, went from like 450 to 500 feet. But more recently, we've got really good geospatial data of parks from LiDAR measurements. And we can see that seat actually is 495 feet away from home plate, and it's 30 feet off the ground. So we have a really good measurement of where that seat is. And it seemed impossible for anyone to hit a ball that far.
What's like a really good home run today? How far would it go?
Yeah, like 450-foot home run is kind of a headline if it happens
top notch.
today.
Okay.
And
so 502 seems ridiculous.
Well, we've had some 500-foot home runs. I think we've had a handful in the StatCast era when we've been tracking home runs. But Ted Williams' home run would have gone about 530 feet. And we've never measured anything close to that in the StatCast era, which is why it's controversial. But the big revelation that we got from weather applied metrics and looking at historical, stadium architecture was in 1946, Fenway Park was actually much shorter. And also, conveniently at that time, there was a massive storm in the Northeast that day. Ted hit a ball really hard, and it got up into this unabated stream of wind going super fast almost immediately, and that wind carried it all the way to that red seat in right field.
And to hear more from Clay about how wind impacts different ballparks in different ways, check out this week's episode of Off the Radar, our podcast. You'll also learn about how this wind modeling could impact sports betting. Find Off the Radar anywhere you listen to your podcast. And before we take a short break, let's take in views of beautiful strawberry fields from above.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We have the potential for some scattered strong to severe thunderstorms today across the plains. So if you get any weather warnings, make sure to take those serious today. These storms will continue moving their way to the east as we head into the day tomorrow. Not quite as likely to be severe for the day tomorrow, but still be aware you get a severe thunderstorm warning, doesn't matter. It's going to be pretty strong. And as we head into your Thursday, still some scattered thunderstorms across a lot of the Midwest.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. It's a little cool back up into North Texas, into the 60s, 70s elsewhere. Really warm as you get down toward Brownsville, sitting into the 80s. Looking at a weak cold front that's going to come sliding through. It'll be more of a dry line. Could be more showers and thunderstorms developing up toward the north as another cold front pushes through there. Otherwise, get ready for a hot summer afternoon. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a happy Tuesday to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Late May at this point in the Pacific Northwest, and this is how things are going to be going tomorrow for Seattle and Portland. The rain making a comeback, feeling much more like March than May there between Seattle and back through the Willamette Valley. But 95 in the hot sunshine there in southern Arizona. High pressure pushing in over the Four Corners region, but again, that storm pushing into the PNW. And that's the scene from here.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, we all know that ceiling fans can help keep a room cool, but did you know that the direction you want the fan to spin changes with the season? Meteorologist Teresa Carter explains.
When it comes to ceiling fan direction, there are two main settings to consider: counterclockwise and clockwise. During the warm summer months, ceiling fan direction should be spinning counterclockwise. This direction allows the fan blades to push the cooler air down to establish a comfortable cool breeze. The blades push the air down in a column, making the room feel cooler than it really is and improving air circulation to keep temperatures consistent. Now, in the winter, the ceiling fan direction should be clockwise. This motion creates an updraft to push the warmer air that has risen to the ceiling back down to the room, which helps your body feel warmer. Now, by doing this, you can also save on energy costs when the ceiling fan is on the correct setting to support your cooling or heating efforts.
And we love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Tuesday.